Hi, Barry.
Hey.
I'm George. I'm from a film podcast called Pulp Kitchen.
All right.
Congratulations on the film.
Thank you very much.
First question I'd like to ask is, The Lion King, when it came out in 1994, was a huge global phenomenon. What are your memories of seeing that film for the first time?
Yeah, my memories, I don't remember seeing it the first time, but I have like this series of seeings, which is babysitting these two small boys, my sister's children. In that era, you're just reaching for which DVD, which VHS is going to hold the kids' attention the best. And The Lion King was the one that they wanted to watch over and over again. And you realize very quickly they're watching this movie as a children's film, but they're processing this very complex emotion for the first time, which is, what it might be like for a child to lose their parent, which isn't something that children think about very often, until they're confronted with mortality, which this film, of all things, did in a very clear and honest way.
Absolutely. And MUFASA, The Lion King, is a different kind of film to the ones that audiences are used to seeing you make. What was it about doing this kind of project that, what were you able to do? What did it enable you to do that you weren't able to do with previous work? What did you learn from that?
Yeah, I took this job, I read the script, and I saw so many of the themes in my previous work, but you're right, the genre and the style of the film were different. And yet that would have been the case if it was a sci-fi film or if it was an action film. The fact that this one is this sort of like live action animation, it still situates it apart from something like Moonlight, but I think the story itself is very, very similar and the themes are very, very similar as well. I think I was at a moment where I was curious about doing something that was different, and there was nothing that had crossed my desk that would be as different as this. So it seemed like the right choice.
And you spoke about those themes there. What I love in the film is that this balance of childlike wonder with the world and with the natural world, balanced with the threat of social threat and even environmental threat. And I can see the theme in your previous work as well. What draws you to that theme in your work, and why do you want to explore it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it must be, and when you look at this film in particular, Mufasa for 30 years has been this great king who we assumed, arrived at his greatness through a very simple means. He was born into it. I love the complexity that Jeff brought to that story by showing the ways, not even that he earned it, but that he acquired, all these wonderful qualities, all these wonderful skills, acquired this worldview, through his experience of moving through the world, building a found family, listening to the lessons, the teachings of his ancestor, and being someone who was willing to sort of grow. I thought that was a really wonderful thing because I feel like that's how I've lived my life. It doesn't make any sense that, I have an Oscar and a BAFTA at home and I'm speaking to you about this movie when I grew up the same way the character in Moonlight grew up. You don't assume that someone from that background end up in this place. And yet I have. And I've done it through the same methods as Mufasa, by listening to the world, by building a found family, and being open to growth.
And I think what audiences will, from the moment the film begins, be confronted with is the sheer visual spectacle and the visual storytelling at work in this film. And I was curious to know, because the vision is so strong, what visual inspirations did you take and cues? Were you inspired by other films, other works of art? What was in your mind when you came up with that?
It wasn't other films. The cinematographer, James Laxon, who's a really good friend of mine, he shot several commercials on the continent of Africa, and he always comes back describing it as just like this, like a place like no other. And so we looked at the work of all these African fine artists, to be honest. We wanted to create a depiction of the continent that existed in the continent's own image of itself. Even when it came to location scouting, because we made the movie during the pandemic, we couldn't physically go ourselves. Instead, we reached out to this network of artists, conservationists all throughout the continent. We had mapped the journey of where Mufasa and his found family passed through. And we actually contacted people in those places and said, what is the most interesting element of your environment or your landscape that you would like to see realized in a film? So I think in that way, we sort of built a visual language, a visual grammar that was sort of rooted or wanted to come from the energy of the continent.
Oh, that's really interesting to know, because it definitely feels very tactile and very real and very present, the environmental factor. And like I said, almost the environmental threat as well. The concept that's repeated in this film is this idea of Malele, this sort of paradise, this utopia beyond the horizon, a place of abundance, a place of great color. I wanted to know, more personally now for you, what does paradise mean to you, to Barry Jenkins? What do you envisage that for yourself as a paradise?
I don't know that 'cause paradise is a very specific word. I don't know that I believe in paradise, but if you're asking me Malele, I think it's more a state of mind, and not a physical destination or a physical place. I think creating art, with this found family that I have chosen and that has thankfully chosen me, being able to utilize our voice to create things that exist in the world while also, growing as human beings. To me, doing that collectively, that's my version of Malele.
Oh, very good. I mean, on that point, I've been asking the actors today about how liberating it feels for them to be in a voice booth and just letting go. And they've spoken about how great your direction was in inputting. How is it from your side working with actors in that environment from a vocal point of view?
Oh, it's very cool. As a director making this kind of film, you get to really delineate and focus on just this aspect of your process. And so when we're working on the radio play, I'm just working on performance. It doesn't matter where the camera is, doesn't matter, where the sun is, nothing. And it's very, very immediate. Typically in a movie, you do a take, you call cut, the camera's got to reset, the wardrobe's got to reset, the hair and makeup. You give a note, an adjustment on the performance. It takes like 7, 8, 12 minutes before you're, filming again. In this case, we're all there, we do the scene right away, we can give a note, evolve it, and we're going right back in. It felt much more like live theater.
I see, yes.
Like the rehearsals of a play in that way. And it also was very expansive. Everything was possible, and I really loved working with this cast.
Oh, fantastic. And a lighter question now, one I'm asking the actors as well, is because they all get the opportunity to voice animals in this film. But as a director, you're not quite given that opportunity.
No, I'm not.
I was wondering, if you had been given the opportunity and they said, Barry, you can voice an animal in this film, what animal would you have chosen?
So there's this animal, I don't know technically what the technical term is, but I called it Raccoon Dog. And Raccoon Dog was my favorite animal in the whole movie. It's like looks like a cross between a raccoon and a dog. It's black and white. I just adored this animal. And it was in the movie, out the movie, in the movie, out the movie. I think now there's one shot of it right as Mufasa's giving his big speech in the third act. And I just love him. And if I could voice anybody in the film, it would be Raccoon Dog.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I will look out for the spin-off that will come one day with the Barry Jenkins led one with Raccoon Dog.
Barry Jenkins presents Raccoon Dog, the Lion King. Yeah.
Barry, that's all the questions I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice
Thank
to meet you, sir.